Don't just focus on gold anymore. Silver is the real hot spot in September. Hello, everyone. Let's get straight to the point today. If you had to choose between gold and silver, which one would you choose? Most people would choose gold. But domestic enterprises have urgently reminded that the United States is going to include silver in the list of critical minerals. Before the tariffs are implemented, even a small amount of capital can make a lot of money from it. Are you sure you want to ignore this opportunity? Presumably, most people's first reaction is gold. But sticking to this perception may cause you to miss the potential market for silver in September. Recently, AI chips and cryptocurrencies have dominated the market's attention. While the United States Geological Survey (USGS) has quietly released a proposal to include silver in the critical minerals list, this means that silver may be subject to tariff adjustments in the future, or it may be included in the scope of government subsidies. The focus of industry policies may shift towards it. A silver rush is about to begin, and the market will be significantly affected. Domestic-related enterprises have warned that the market seriously underestimates the tariff risk of silver if the proposal is implemented. Analysts predict that the price of silver may reach $43 per ounce in the next 6 to 12 months. The current price of silver is about $25 per ounce, with a potential increase of nearly 80%. Even small principals can expect considerable returns. It should be noted that silver has long since shed its label as the poor man's gold. In 2023, the global photovoltaic industry's silver consumption accounted for more than 20% each photovoltaic. C-panel requires silver paste for conductivity, and electric vehicle batteries, circuits, and the precision equipment of the U.S. military all rely on its high conductivity. Citi's latest report also clearly supports the judgment that the price of silver will reach $43 per ounce. September is a crucial window of opportunity to grasp this market. Why is the United States keeping a close eye on silver? Is it due to industrial demand or geopolitical games? What impact will it have on the global metals market, U.S. stocks, and consumers? Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ella's channel. I have been working in the global capital markets for more than a decade, and I am best at keeping an eye on policy trends and industrial logic, always thinking about breaking down those complicated financial concepts into simple terms that we can all understand, just like this opportunity with silver. The other day, I was poring over the USGS's critical minerals report at 2 a.m., and the more I read, the more I felt that the opportunities here couldn't be hidden. Today, I'll break down all the opportunities for you, how to arbitrage, which sectors will explode, and which pitfalls to avoid. I will explain it all clearly to you. This is not a vague trend of maybe it will go up in the future. September is the critical period of this opportunity window, and after this period, there may not be such a good opportunity again. The core question is also, why has the United States suddenly targeted silver? Is it because of the needs of industrial development or a means of geopolitical games? How will it affect the global metals market, U.S. stock sectors, and even our ordinary people's wallets? The answers are all in today's video, so please don't scroll away. If you don't want to miss the latest developments in tariff policies, be sure to click following. If you find the content useful, don't forget to leave a comment and let's chat. The U.S. Critical Minerals List, jointly led by the U.S. Geological Survey (USGS) and the Department of the Interior, is updated every 3 years. In essence, it is a national security resource catalog rather than an ordinary list of resources. Its core function is singular: to identify which resources are irreplaceable for you. National security and economic security. If such resources are in short supply, the operation of core domestic industries such as new energy and military industries, and even the national defense system, will be directly impacted. From the evolution of the list, the expansion of the ambition to control resources, is clearly visible. When the Trump administration first launched the list in 2018, it only included 35 core new energy resources such as rare earths, lithium, beryllium, and graphite, focusing on the vital raw materials for industries like electric vehicle batteries and photovoltaic panels. By the Biden administration in 2022, the scale of the list expanded to 50 types, adding industrial metals such as nickel critical for high-range batteries and zinc, extending its coverage to traditional industries. If silver, copper, silicon, and potassium are included this time, the total number of resources on the list will reach 56, covering core resources of nearly half the metal cycle. This is undoubtedly a key measure by the U.S. to bring all critical raw materials needed for its industries under its control. A key understanding must be clarified here. The list itself is not a tariff policy, but it serves as a legal permit for the U.S. to launch measures such as tariffs and subsidies. In simple terms, as long as a certain type of resource is first designated as a national security necessity, the U.S. could subsequently provide subsidies to domestic mining enterprises, restrict resource exports, or impose tariffs on imported resources, all in the name of safeguarding national security. This allows it to bypass the constraints of WTO rules and significantly reduce opposition from the international community. The 2018 steel and aluminum tariff incident is a typical example. Based on the Section 232 investigation, the U.S. defined steel and aluminum as critical security materials, then imposed a 25% tariff on relevant products worldwide. Despite ongoing international disputes, it still pushed forward with the measure. Later, resources such as rare earths and lithium also followed this logic, becoming tools for the U.S. in geopolitical games with China, locking in targeted resources through the list, then using tariffs to disrupt supply chains, thereby making up for its own production gaps and seizing control over resource dominance. Understanding the operational logic of this list makes it easy to see that silver's inclusion is no accident, but an inevitable result of the upgrading of U.S. resource strategy from initially focusing on new energy metals to covering resources related to energy security and now extending to the precious metals sector. Its core logic remains consistent. Any resource that can affect the development of key futures U.S. industries' new energy, military industry must be incorporated into the national security framework. To achieve full control, there are three crucial practical considerations behind the U.S. decision to promote silver's inclusion in the list at this time. First, silver's dual attributes are irreplaceable. It is both a precious metal that can hedge risks and an industrial necessity for photovoltaic paste, electronic solder joints, and precision military equipment. A shortage of silver would choke the U.S. new energy transition and defense production. Second, the U.S. is heavily dependent on external sources for silver supply. 64% of its demand relies on imports, and domestic production capacity is far from sufficient to meet its needs, resulting in obvious weaknesses in the supply chain. Third, the global silver supply chain is highly concentrated. Mexico, Peru accounting for nearly 40% of global production combined, and China are the main suppliers. In the event of a geopolitical conflict, the U.S., the silver supply would be left in a passive position. Additionally, a common misunderstanding needs to be corrected. If gold is the ballast stone of the global monetary system, then silver is the lubricant of modern industry. The old perception that silver is the poor man's gold and merely a substitute for investment is long outdated. Today, silver has long broken out of its traditional roles in jewelry and coins and is deeply integrated into key industrial chains such as new energy, electronics, and military industries, becoming an irreplaceable strategic resource. This is precisely the fundamental reason why the U.S. has included it in the critical minerals list, and the key factor that has pushed silver to the core of this resource war. The significance of silver is primarily manifested in three key aspects. Industrial demand, an irreplaceable pillar. Silver holds the top position among metals in terms of electrical conductivity and reflectivity, making it an essential requirement for the photovoltaic, electronics, and military industries. In the photovoltaic sector, each photovoltaic cell relies on silver paste for conductivity. In 2023, silver consumption in the photovoltaic industry accounted for over 20% of the global total demand, and this proportion continues to rise with the growth in photovoltaic installed capacity. Within the electronics industry, the contact points of 5G chips and the solders for electric vehicle batteries depend on silver to ensure equipment performance and safety. Regarding the military field, precision-guided weapons, aerospace sensing equipment, and military batteries utilize silver to guarantee accuracy and stability. Unlike gold, which is mainly influenced by risk-aversion sentiment, silver's industrial indispensability makes it a dual strategic resource for the U.S. Energy transition and national defense security. Investment attributes. A high elasticity financial lever. Silver has the investment attributes of precious metals. During market fluctuations, it, like gold, serves as a risk-aversion option, but there are significant differences in their characteristics. Gold has the continuous support of central bank purchases, a large market scale, and strong stability. In contrast, the silver market has a smaller scale and higher price elasticity. After the 2008 financial crisis, during the period of the Federal Reserve's quantitative easing, gold rose from $700 per to $1,900 per ounce, with a growth rate of 171%. Meanwhile, silver soared from less than 10% to nearly $50 per ounce, a staggering 400% increase, 2.3 times that of gold. If the U.S. imposes a 50% tariff on imported silver, speculative funds will anticipate and drive up futures prices in advance. Citi's prediction of silver reaching $43 per ounce is based on the dual amplification effect of supply, demand gaps, and its financial attributes. 3. Geopolitical value. A key piece in geopolitical games. Silver's inclusion in the critical minerals list represents a strategic probe by the U.S. against Central and South America, as well as China. Mexico and Peru are the world's two largest silver-producing countries, accounting for nearly 40% of global production combined. Since the U.S. relies on imports for 64% of its silver needs, imposing tariffs could influence the resource policies of these two countries. Although China is not the largest silver-producing country, it holds a core position in silver consumption and processing. The U.S. aims to weaken China's influence in the industrial chain through this move, achieving a two birds with a one stone effect. In summary, silver's cross-border nature as both a precious metal plus industrial metal is the core reason it has become the focus of U.S. strategy, and it also brings both opportunities and challenges for investors. Friends, the market sensitivity to policies often lies not in the policies themselves, but in the price spreads before and after policy implementation. The core of this silver market trend is precisely the premium. So, what is the current state of the premium? How will it evolve in the future? Why does Citi believe it is severely undervalued now? Current market situation, the premium remains low. According to Citi's data, the current premium F between silver futures and physical silver is only 2% to 3%, indicating that the cost difference between purchasing futures and physical silver is minimal, which is within the normal range of the past few years. However, the key point is that if the U.S. imposes tariffs on imported silver, this price difference will widen instantly. Importers will either bear the tariffs, pushing up the cost of physical silver, or seek alternative channels, increasing circulation costs. Ultimately, this will cause the physical premium in the U.S. domestic market to soar. This year, when Trump proposed a 39% tariff on Swiss gold, within just a few days, the price difference between New York gold and London gold widened to 30-40 per ounce, allowing speculators to reap huge profits. If silver follows the same path, due to its stronger industrial demand and smaller market scale, the impact may exceed that of gold. Future scenarios replicating the steel arbitrage model. In 2018, when the U.S. imposed a 25% tariff on steel, the domestic steel price premium in the U.S. skyrocketed to twice the international price. Arbitrage traders bought steel at low prices overseas and resold it in the U.S. to make a profit. If a silver tariff is imposed, a similar scenario is likely to play out. The domestic silver price in the U.S. will increase due to rising costs, while the international silver price will lag in its increase due to sufficient liquidity. The widening price difference will attract funds to flow into the New York Mercantile Exchange, COMEX, further expanding the arbitrage space. Citi's 43 target price supported EDB dual driving forces Citi SPOL reductio for 3 per ounce silver price is based on the dual driving forces of tariffs. On the physical side, since the U.S. depends on imports for 64% of its silver after the imposition of tariffs, importers will definitely stock up in advance. The resulting supplier-demand gap in the spot market will push up prices. From the capital perspective, silver's financial attributes, combined with the expected price difference, will attract speculative funds to speculate on futures. Moreover, the silver market is much smaller in scale than the crude oil market, and the concentrated influx of funds can easily drive up prices. In 2011, silver once surged from $20 to $50 per ounce, so a target price of $43 is a relatively conservative estimate. For retail investors, there are 3 feasible approaches. Institutions can engage in long position arbitrage of silver on the COMEX. However, retail investors have more accessible options. Silver ETFs directly track silver prices and are simple to operate. Stocks of silver mining companies could see their performance directly boosted as silver prices rise. Mining composite ETFs can diversify the risks associated with single enterprises. Just as chip tariffs made Nvidia famous, silver tariffs might turn these investment targets into new focal points. Silver is merely an appetizer in this resource game. The real showstopper is the combined punch of the U.S. Critical Minerals Plus Section 232 investigation. This investigation covers 56 metal minerals, almost encompassing everything from new energy to traditional industries, which could stir up the entire industrial metals sector. Palladium, specifically singled out by Citi, is the next focal point. It is currently under the upward pressure of dual risks. First, on August 19th, the U.S. Department of Commerce launched an anti-dumping investigation on Russian palladium. Russia is a major global exporter of palladium. If sanctions are escalated, U.S. importers will have to seek alternative sources, inevitably driving up the price of palladium. Second, palladium has now been included in the critical minerals list and may be subject to tariffs under Section 232 in the future. This amounts to a double whammy of limited Russian supply plus U.S. tariffs-induced price hikes. Given palladium's already highly volatile nature, its price is likely to soar directly. More importantly, palladium is a core raw material for automotive exhaust purification catalysts. When its price rises, the cost will be transmitted along the automotive industry chain, ultimately affecting car manufacturers and consumers. In addition to silver and palladium, base metals such as nickel, zinc, tin, and lead on the list also deserve attention. The U.S. has a high degree of import dependence on them. Nickel is a core raw material for electric vehicle batteries, and the U.S. mainly relies on imports, with Indonesia accounting for a high proportion of the supply. Zinc is widely used in new construction and infrastructure, and the U.S. domestic production is far from sufficient. Tin is a necessity in the electronics industry, mainly supplied by China and Southeast Asia. Lead remains irreplaceable in the battery and energy storage fields, and the U.S. is almost completely dependent on imports. Once Section 232 imposes tariffs on these metals, the physical premium in the the domestic market will increase. What's more troublesome is that importers will rush to stock up in advance, similar to the hoarding of masks and raw materials in the early days of the 2020 pandemic. Short-term demand will be overdrawn, and prices will spike instantly. Here, Ella wants to remind everyone of the mistake that investors most easily overlook: the expected spillover effect. The market never waits for tariffs to be implemented, but anticipates and speculates in advance. Prices often rise once before the formal introduction of policies. For example, as soon as the news breaks, U.S. importers will place orders in advance to stockpile nickel, zinc, tin, and lead to avoid future tariffs, which will directly lead to a shortage of spot goods and a price increase in the short term. So, from an investment perspective, silver is just an entry point, and greater opportunities lie in the entire industrial metals sector. The Section 232 investigation may bring a collective market upswing for them. If you only focus on gold, you are likely to miss out on opportunities in nickel mining companies, zinc mining companies, and the tin industry chain. In particular, those companies with a high degree of localization that can directly receive U.S. subsidies may even experience an independent upward trend that is more robust than that of silver. At this point, some people must be wondering which sectors can actually benefit from this, and which will be suppressed by tariffs. Generally speaking, domestic mining companies that can directly obtain U.S. government subsidies are likely to be the biggest beneficiaries. Their production costs will be relatively stable, and they can even expand production capacity due to subsidies, thereby reaping huge profits as prices rise. For example, some U.S.-based nickel mining companies that are highly localized may see a significant increase in their stock prices as nickel prices soar. On the contrary, downstream manufacturing industries that rely heavily on these imported metals may face cost pressure challenges. Take the automotive industry as an example. Since palladium is a key raw material for exhaust purification, a significant increase in the price of palladium will directly increase the production costs of automotive companies. If they cannot effectively transfer these costs to consumers, their profit margins will be compressed. In addition, companies engaged in international trade of these metals may also face certain risks. For instance, trading companies that import large quantities of zinc, tin, etc. from overseas may find their profit margins shrinking due to tariff increases, unless they can adjust their procurement and sales strategies in a timely manner. In conclusion, as the U.S. continues to play its critical minerals plus Section 232 investigation card, the industrial metals market is bound to face significant fluctuations. Investors need to keep a close eye on policy trends, market supplier demand changes, and the performance of relevant companies in order to seize opportunities and avoid risks in this complex market environment. Ella will break this down into a 4-layer analysis here. Direct beneficiaries, upstream resource providers. The core logic is straightforward. Once tariffs are imposed on silver, import costs will rise, and domestic silver mining enterprises with production capacity such as U.S. based silver mining companies can directly increase prices. Mining enterprises are far more sensitive to silver prices than ordinary investment targets. If silver prices break through key levels, the profit growth of mining enterprises is not linear but geometrically amplified. For example, if silver prices rise from $25 to $43 per ounce. The profits of mining enterprises may double or triple. They are the most direct beneficiaries in this sector. Indirect beneficiaries. Financial investment channels. Such targets are suitable for ordinary investors. For instance, ETFs that track silver prices. E.g., Issuers Silver Trust, ticker symbol SLV, or metal ETFs that cover mining enterprises. E.g., Global X Silver Miners ETF, ticker symbol SIL. Their logic is simple. When silver prices rise, they rise in sync. Without additional risks, such as corporate operational issues, they can not only serve as asset hedging tools, but also allow investors to profit directly from market trends. They are low threshold and easy to operate options. 3. Potential losers. Downstream industries. Do not overlook silver's industrial attributes. Photovoltaic PV, electric vehicle EV, and electronics manufacturers have huge demand for silver. Once silver prices soar, cost pressures will quickly spread. PV enterprises already have thin profit margins. A rise in silver prices may turn their profits into losses. EV manufacturers will also face compressed profit margins due to increased silver costs in batteries and circuits. These downstream enterprises, on the contrary, will become victims of the sharp rise in silver prices. Number 4. Arbitrage profiteers. There is another easily overlooked group: exchanges and arbitrage institutions. When the premium of silver between futures and physical silver widens, trading volumes on exchanges will surge. Institutions can not only profit from the price gap between futures and physical silver, but also earn transaction fees. They do not directly produce silver, yet they can make profits through tolls, e.g., transaction fees and price differences. For example, the New York Mercantile Exchange COMEX and commodity arbitrage funds will be the invisible winners in this game. In my view, silver tariffs are essentially a clear game. Upstream enterprises make money from price increases. Midstream channels benefit from capital flows. Downstream industries bear cost pressures, and institutions profit from arbitrage. Currently, the silver sector has already shown signs of capital movement, and the window of opportunity may be only about a week before the U.S. tariff investigation results are released on October 19th. Market sentiment has already pushed up premiums in advance. Seizing this window may add more certainty to your September investments. By now, everyone should be able to feel the significance of this matter. Silver's inclusion in the critical minerals list is by no means an isolated piece of news, but a crucial step in the upgrading of U.S. resource strategy. Behind this, there are 3 major core threads. 1. A resource chain restructuring. The U.S. aims to reshape the resource chain through tariffs and subsidies, reorienting the global flow of mineral resources to its own control, firmly grasping resource dominance, and avoiding choke points in core industries such as new energy and military industries in the future. 2. Attribute dividend. Silver's cross-border attributes make it a strategic focus. It is not only an essential industrial raw material for the new energy transition, but also a speculative asset that can hedge risks. This dual attribute makes it irreplaceable in resource layout. 3. Geopolitical chess piece. This is even more a bargaining chip in geopolitical games. The U.S. uses silver as a tool to negotiate with China and countries in Central and South America. It restrains silver-producing countries such as Mexico and Peru on one hand, and weakens China's voice in the metal industry chain on the other, achieving a 2-for-1 effect. Therefore, this is by no means a simple fluctuation in commodity prices, but a brand new resource war. If the previous chip tariffs were a technology war and rare earth policies were an energy war, then the layout centered on silver this time is a precious metals war. For investors, silver is merely an entry point into this battle, the real opportunities extend far beyond this. Once the tariff storm hits, the entire precious metals and industrial metal sectors will be thrust into the spotlight. The logic we previously analyzed: upstream sectors benefit, midstream channels follow, downstream industries suffer, and institutions profit from arbitrage, will take effect across a broader range of metal varieties. Only by figuring out in advance who will make money and who will lose can you seize the opportunities. Let me add a few final words. The results of the critical minerals investigation will be released on October 19th. Funds have already quietly begun to position themselves, and this investment window of opportunity is fleeting. For those who haven't yet clarified their thinking, hurry up to follow and subscribe to my channel. Go in forward. I will closely monitor the progress of the tariffs and update everyone as soon as there is new information. If you find today's shared content useful, don't hesitate to speak up in the comments section. Are you planning to start with silver ETFs for stability? Or are you ready to take a bold leap into mining stocks to pursue high elasticity returns? Let's meet in the comments section. And don't let this rare opportunity slip through your fingers.